Everybody to Around the ACL. Michelle Thompson here with Trey Ryder, and that's it. It's the two of us. We're going to hold it down.
Just me.
It's just us two. We were joking about it earlier because, of course, we want to recap the Throwdown, and I wasn't there. So Trey's going to be talking quite a bit. But for those of you who were there, I saw all the posts about what a great time everybody had. I know this is a favorite event of most people. It's a very different vibe. I've gone a couple years, and it's super, super fun and something that the ACL is super excited to be a part of. So we're going to recap everything that happened there. We're going to get into some high or low, thinking about next season. And then we're going to show you a little bit of a clip from ACL Academy, a little sneak peek about how you throw against the dirty style game from Dave Sutton. So that's all the stuff we're going to get into. Trey, are you recovered? How many fish burritos did you eat? Did you get sunburned? Give me all the deets.
Yeah, no, I don't think any sunburn. Maybe a little bit of rosy here, but nothing too bad on my end. I stayed pretty much as much out of the sun as I possibly could, knowing that it was going to be a long week. I'll say this much though, it was the hottest it's ever been since I've been there.
Well, that makes sense because it was over 100 here, so yes, not on the coast.
It was hot. Now, hot there it was. On day one, it was like 86.
Yeah.
And so, but the thing you have to keep in mind is there's not a cloud in the sky.
Yeah.
So it's 86, sun on you, nonstop all day. So my favorite thing that I like to joke about this tournament is that it's the epitome of when you get to the Sunday night, everybody walks into the building with a sweatshirt on and red faces because they're sunburnt from being outside all day, but it's cold, so they have to put a jacket on. So that's kind of it got cooler as the weekend went. So I think it was 75 by the time Sunday hit. And so at night it got a little bit cool. But no, it was fantastic weather as always. I did see my first ever rain droplets. It rained for about 7 minutes on Saturday, and that was it. It was just wild. You never know what you're gonna get when you get there. So it did rain for about 7 minutes, and then it was just on to a great weekend. I ate plenty of my fish burritos. If you haven't been there, you haven't gotten the fish and shrimp burrito, you got to make sure you definitely get that. That was, it's always one of my favorite things to get while I'm there. And, just so thankful to have a relationship with John Carrion, who's the owner, just a great guy, and has really worked hard to make this festival. I think the thing that was the coolest for me this year, because all of the things that we always look for are there. It's great cornhole. It's the wind. It's challenging. It has a great atmosphere, a great vibe. The new thing this year was on Friday, the addition of the LFA fight. So for those, and I didn't know this, so I'm more speaking out of like, this is something I just learned. The LFA is kind of like the minor league or the developmental league for the UFC. And so we had an entire fight card from, there was like 8 total fights on Friday night, starting at 4:30 local time all the way until like 10 o'clock. My first time ever seeing live MMA fighting. And my goodness, was it entertaining. Like whole new appreciation for fighting over here. I mean, it just hearing, like, I saw someone get knocked out and I could hear the clap from when they got knocked. I mean, it was just like wild for it to happen right in front of us. So, I mean, thought that was really, really cool. That was a sold out show on Friday. And I can't tell you how many people, I know there was a bunch of people that didn't go this year. I can't tell you how many people I talked to for the first time went this year, and they said, I'm never missing it. So I thought this year it was really well run. Shout out to the director team that was there. Overall, it was a really, really pleasant experience. The celebrities were fun. I got my little photo with Rachel McAdams, which was always great. As a millennial, like, Rachel McAdams was through and through, like across all of our televisions for years and years. So I always said she's the only person that could probably span one of the great romantic movies of all time in The Notebook, one of the great like millennial coming of age movies of all time in Mean Girls, and one of the great comedies of all time in Wedding Crashers. She spanned all 3 of those movies, and that's why she was one of my favorites. So really great to see, and to see the rest of the celebrities. Shamar, obviously, he's always going to steal the show. His Airmail City crew was able to step in, but overall, really, really successful. Had a great time. I am full. I am tired, and I need some rest, but overall, just a fantastic weekend.
I got to tell you, because we ran a tournament here on Sunday, an outdoor tournament, and I am reminded by why I hate outdoor tournaments. It was 104 degrees on blacktop in a parking lot. And there's no amount of money that was worth that for me. And I feel bad because I'm sitting under a pop-up with one of those, like, fans that miss. They're out there playing cornhole. I'm like, you people are crazy. That's
how kind of I was like. There's a couple times I walked out of the director's tent and I was like, oh, this is cool. I walked around and saw people. It's like, okay, now time to go back in the indoors. Now, I will say we didn't have air conditioning the entire time. So it was, even when we were inside, it was a little hot. It was like one of the cool things that was cool though, when we went to the LFA, like I do broadcasting for TV, so I know what that prep is like. Where we were sitting was right behind the broadcasters. And so I got to see their routine of what they do. Well, they walked in jacket and long sleeve on an 86-degree, no air-conditioned building, and they took their ties off, they took their jackets off. They were doing this real casual, as it was a very hot night in Ventura.
Yeah, I mean, you got to. And Rachel McAdams, I think, by the way, is one of the most beautiful people in the world. That's so cool that she was there. All right, let's talk about the players. For doubles, Gavin Cano and Sammy Soto. What a way to end their season, taking first place against the big team of Mark Richards and Tony Smith. In women doubles, Cheyenne Bubenheim and Gina Ramirez. I didn't get to see this one, but apparently double dipped, I believe. Is that correct, to get the win?
Yeah, true.
And then for Crew Cup, it was Graham, Davis, Smith, and Richards. What a stacked team that was. I was surprised that I didn't see, I'm sure there was an all-Texas team or two in there for Crew Cup, so I was surprised not to see them at the end, but obviously you can only watch the very end there. But Trey, I'll turn it over to you to talk about those lovely events.
Yeah, Crew Cup in particular, we had, the Crew Cup, like you said, Michelle, you have the All-Texas team that had pretty much dominated Crew Cup throughout the entire year. You had your Gavin, your Sammy, your JBJ, and your Logan. They pretty much won every Crew Cup. But then they got matched up at this event in the very first round, because keep in mind, not seeded or anything, just completely random, had to go in the first round up against the eventual winners in Jamie Graham, Eric Davis, Tony Smith, and Mark Richards. So tough break. Someone's got to win. Someone's got to lose that one. It just turned out to be Graham, Davis, Smith, and Richards that ended up getting the win there. So Crew Cup started kind of our vibes towards the end on the broadcast court as they went up against, Forbes, Fabianar, Riker, Wells, and Landon Crabtree, which is always a fun team to watch and certainly got plenty of personality. And I'll never forget, Landon Crabtree came up to me right before we started, and he goes, "Do you know what the title difference is on this on this matchup between us two Crew Cup teams?" I said, "No, it's probably pretty big." He goes, 85-2. So
that is crazy. Not intimidating at all.
No, not at all. I mean, certainly when you throw those two teams up against one another, it's going to have some fun. And look, there's nothing really that the other ones can do. I mean, it was Graham, Davis, Smith, and Richards just plowing through the field. I mean, it really wasn't any competition. They get the big win there. On the women's double side, yes, a little bit of a double dip. First and foremost, I thought Caitlin Allshouse, our current women's singles and women's doubles world champion, had a fantastic weekend. She made the final 8, won her bracket with Justin Dermody of the Throwdown. She was the only woman to win a bracket in Throwdown doubles in the A bracket, which was incredible to see. And, on the women's double side, she makes it all the way to the finals. It was just like she was just this wrecking ball, just going through everybody. Now, she did get double dipped. And I think that just speaks to the experience and part of the adjustment to the conditions that Cheyenne and Gina were able to make. Because I always like to say, look, you can talk about who the best player in the world is. They can win inside tournaments. The winner of the Throwdown is going to be whoever has the best adjustments. And that's it. I mean, plain and simple. You have to be able to adjust your game, because one game you could be uphill, downhill. One game you could be crosswind. The next game you could be upwind, downwind. The next game you could be in the finals, you're going to play inside, right? You just have to have so many different ways that you can adjust your game in order to be successful. So that's ultimately what it comes down to. Now, making the final 8, surprise, surprise, we saw Mark Richards and Tony Smith making their way through. I mean, this is, the greatest team we've ever seen. And, they make it all the way to the finals again. And, for a second there, I thought it was going to be a repeat of what we previously have seen and saw at the World Championships, which was, a big lead by the opponent just, completely goes away, and Mark Richards and Tony Smith walk away with the victory. But that's not the case. It was Gavin Cano and Sammy Soto that walk away, ultimately with the big win there. There was no surprise that they were going to be one of the best teams just because of the way that they throw their bag. If you look at the teams that also made the final 8, you had Noah Almanza and Jacob Trzynski. Really low line drives, ability to cut through the wind. No surprise there. You also had a team like a Justin Burton Jr. and a Logan Chamberlain, who we also saw made the Final 4. Again, a team that's got low line drives, bags that are able to cut through the wind. That's really the recipe for success, to be able to compete across the entire weekend outdoors, to be able to do that. So that was a big one. Before I get into Soto and Cano and kind of what their, accolades and great performance was, I also saw a team like Alex Rawls and Matt Sorrells make it all the way through. I had a chance to briefly talk with Matt Sorrells, someone who didn't have a great season at all. I talked to him on Saturday.
Season, right? Like, where has he been?
Yeah, exactly. So he's just been out doing whatever he wants to do, apparently. But what's funny is I talked to him on Saturday after pool play, and he's like, if we don't win this whole thing, something's wrong. I don't think I missed a bag in pool play. I mean, he was really that confident, and that's incredible when you talk about someone that really hasn't been in it for a number of months now. But I would say is some guys just know how to throw outside, and that's just how it is. If you know how to throw outside, you're going to have that advantage really against anybody. So, I thought that was another great team that made the final 8. And Rawls in particular was impressive. But these are the tournaments where your number one goal is just to avoid the big round, right? Avoid giving up the 7 or the 8 when the wind picks up, right? I mean, that's the hard part, is being able to avoid all of that. So, in the end, just to get to the winners in Soto and Cano, I mean, I thought they were. Yeah, I just thought they were super, super consistent. I mean, when we got to the finals and we saw, or the semifinals, one of the most epic games, I saw all season. And it's weird to say that it came at a time like the Throwdown. But if we go back through and look at how what happened with these teams, I mean, these guys were throwing for, over 30, almost close to 30 rounds against Justin Burton Jr. and Logan Chamberlain. After like 10 rounds, it was 2-0. I mean, when you talk about an absolute, dogfight in a bracket final, and I'm pulling up the stats here. Yeah, Justin Burton Jr. and Logan Chamberlain against Sammy Soto and Gavin Cano. Every player was above a 10-5 PPR. Sammy Soto led the court with an 11.29. He was by far and away the best player on the broadcast court when we got into it. But yeah, through 8 rounds, it was 2-0. It was in the 9th round when somebody else scored. So going into round 10, it was 2-2, right? So statistically, we were on pace for a 99-round game is the pace that we were looking at. And really all the way up until round 18, it was still 7-6. And then from there, really, it was Sammy Soto and Gavin Cano that kind of took off from there. They went up. It was 7-6. They went up 11, 13-8, 16, 19, and then 21-8 was our final score. So the final score didn't make it seem like it was a very close match. But really, 18 rounds in, we're talking about a 1-point game and a low-scoring game. A lot of bags in the hole, because we had 12 washes in the game. It was funny. Meesh, when we were there, the game started as it did because everybody was just running bags into the hole. For the first time in my life, I heard a chant from the crowd, and it was "throw a block."
I can hear it. I can hear it on TV.
Block.
Yeah.
It it was mind boggling that's how it went to. And so that game ended up being 28 rounds, and then we get to the finals, and Mark Richards and Tony Smith are going up against them, and that one went 34 rounds. Absolute clinical performance by Soto and Cano to be able to withstand over 60 rounds over 2 games. I think that's super impressive for them to be able to throw at a very high level. And the last thing I'll add for them is that, they had to win it 2 different ways. Soto and Cano, if you look at how they had to play their semifinals, it was straight running bags. If you look, there were only 3 individual rounds in which one person threw an 8. Every other round was a 9, 10, or a 12 in the entire game, right? So we're not even talking about we're not talking about any big rounds. The most you could possibly have scored was 4 points, and that was once that entire game. Flip-flop, you go into the finals against Mark Richards and Tony Smith, a completely different game. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 8s. We had a 7. We had 2 6s. We had 2 5s. We had a 4, and we had a 3. So when we talk about the difference between the play style and how much laundry was in front of the hole and how much of a defensive game it had to be won, I was really, really impressed by how Sammy Soto and Gavin Cano were able to, again, adjust between the semifinals and the finals. And that, for me, is the ultimate telltale of someone that's going to win the Throwdown, is the adjustment between the two. Last thought from me, it was cool, sad, awesome, depressing, a couple different mixed feelings watching JBJ and Logan Chamberlain play Soto and Cano for what we know to be the final time, as both of those groups are all kind of going their separate ways in their own partnership. And so, of course, we know that Gavin Cano is going to be pairing with Logan Chamberlain next season, and they were playing against each other in that game, so it was cool to see them throwing against each other for the last time, knowing they would be partners next season. Of course, we know Sammy Soto, who, again, I thought was the best player on the broadcast across the semis and the finals. He was just, if I even just look at his stats, a .71 DPR in the first game and a .65 DPR in the second game. So statistically, Soto and Cano, Sammy Soto in particular, was great. He's going to be pairing with Colby Shearer next year. I know Colby Shearer's grin's got to be ear to ear after watching how good Soto was. Question's still up in the air on how JBJ proceeds, but obviously seeing that matchup for the last time, kind of a bittersweet moment for Cornhole.
I know. That's what I'm kind of wondering is, contributed to there's 2 things I think contributed to their win without knowing too much. One, I do wonder if they're like, we got to do this, right? Like, this is our finale. Like, we've got to win this thing and go out on a bang, and then we do whatever we do next. And the second part is Tony Smith and Mark Richards throwing pro snipers, question mark?
Yeah, well, they were throwing surefires.
Oh, surefires. I knew it was not a carpet bag.
They were throwing surefires for the entire bracket play. They brought those inside, and I think they just liked it because they were so sticky that sometimes when you get in the wind, sometimes you feel like you have to throw it hard to cut through the wind. But if you throw it hard and it lands on a fast board, it then just takes off. So they're like, let's find something really, really sticky that we know we can cut through the wind and land on the board. So that actually worked for them all day outside. The thing is, I wouldn't have hated, now hindsight's 2020. There were 3 points away from winning in this whole thing, even with them. I think Tony Smith got a little bit left because of a sticky bag and throwing it the way he did. And so because of that, he gave up too many points in the finals. I think that was the ultimate downfall. Maybe if they throw a bag that's a little bit faster once they get inside. But again, the Throwdown, it's do you come armed with 2 sets of bags, knowing that this may be the only time you throw them? So it's this weird in between and this decision you have to make.
Yes, Trey, it's $40,000. I'll bring 17 sets of bags. I don't care. That is so much money, whatever it takes.
It's a great point. It's a great point, right? You got to come armed. Again, it's all about adjustments. I think the only two teams I didn't talk about in the Final Eight were Jamie Graham and Eric Davis. They won this last year. I think it's just a tough break. They had to play Smith and Richards outside in the quarterfinal, and it's 22-18. I mean, what else can you really ask for? It came down to the last bag. Sometimes that breaks. If they win that game, do they win the whole thing? I don't know. And then Gio Mora and Levi Haddock. Gio was getting all of the hometown chants inside the building. I thought he played incredibly well, knowing that his back was going to be up against the wall against Smith and Richards indoors. I mean, obviously, if you play them outdoors, anything can happen. But once you guys get the world champs and as good as they've been inside, it's going to take a great team like a Soto and Cano that's going to be able to come anywhere close to beating them.
Yeah, that's fair. I can see how outdoors, even if we're just talking about the mental game, if I'm stepping up against the number one players in the world, I'm still thinking it's anybody's game because we're outdoors. It's hard once you shift indoors not to let your brain go, well, now things are a little different. They have some good success here indoors, obviously. So I think that's more just about checking your own mental game and if you can stay confident and not allow the bigness of the name to be overwhelming, which who's to say what he thought? We're not in his head, but it's got to feel good to have the California love behind. And I like seeing that we have at least a California player there on the broadcast in Cali. And we know the crowd loves it too, but also really fun was that celebrity match. I did get to watch that. It was cool to see some of the women. I can't remember everyone's name, but I know there was one female in particular that was really good.
Tate Madden. Tate Madden had a bag on her. I mean, that was – so I went through, and one of the things I did was I actually went back and looked at the celebrity event, like as far as the statistics for the tournament goes. So now keep in mind, all right, who do we have in this celebrity tournament? We have Terry Kirby. We have David Lim. We have Shamar Moore. Okay, going into the finals, prior to the finals where the finalist ends up passing, the entire leader for PPR for the tournament was Tate Madden. Just someone that had never played.
What I'm
she was
saying.
7.17. Yeah, she threw a 7, above a 7.
That's better than me, and I've been playing for 4 years. That's really depressing, Trey.
Yeah, well, yes, and trust me, sometimes I throw below a 7 too, and it makes me very sad.
Play.
But, hey, look,
you don't play. It doesn't count. I play every single week.
Well, regardless, she was super impressive. I thought a number of the ladies were impressive, like Mia Mastrov in particular, her and Danielle Monet. Danielle Monet, many probably know as Summer Rae for the WWE. They had a battle. I mean, look, they didn't have the technique, right? They weren't putting every bag in the hole, but it just felt like when they needed it, they had it, right? And they were down the center and everything like that. So, it's always fun to bring people that love cornhole. I mean, look, Scott Porter brought himself a party bus full of fans to the event, all in matching shirts, rooting for him. He wanted it bad. I could tell he wanted it bad.
Yeah, and this is the issue with Scott Porter. I remember him from the previous time that he played, and I was talking to him, and you could see before, if you guys are watching, he's dancing, he's loose, he's having fun. And then he goes into this mode. Like, he wants to get locked in, which I appreciate. He's a competitive guy, but it makes him throw worse. I'm like, Scott, you gotta like loosen up a little bit, because you can only really go into that locked in flow state if you have the reason to, right? Like, you have the experience, or you have the practice, or you have the confidence. And he's trying to go into this like serious mode, and he wants it so bad. And I love that, because I like that he's taking it serious. But I'm like, hey, we got to go play state, buddy. Like, this is still a sport you're new at.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah. He was frustrated because he made it to those semifinals. And so the morning of the event, we had 2 cancellations from celebrities. So one of them was Zach Guilford, which was Porter's, co-star on Friday Night Lights, right? We were going to have Jason Street and Matt Saracen.
I knew we were missing Kel, but I couldn't remember who the second one was.
Again, Kel Mitchell was the other one. So we had 2 people that just had to back out. So luckily we had Airmail City there. So Odie Gallup and Bobby Bowlin jump in to kind of help. And little did we know, and it's so funny, I asked Shamar beforehand, like, of these Airmail City guys who, it's like, okay, it's me, it's David, it's Odie, and then it's Bobby, right? That wasn't the case once the lights turned on, because once the lights turned on, Bobby Bowlin, star of the show, he led the entire tournament in points per round average, right? He had a 7.36 across the entire tournament, had the highest DPR, a 2.07 DPR for Bobby Bowlin. So he was cooking. He was cooking on stage. And I think part of that was because part of it has to do with the fact that, you know, when Terry Kirby is your partner, and everybody knows Terry as this player who's, yes, he's a celebrity, but he's also a cornhole player. People expect him to kind of be the best of the team. So they say, okay, I'm going to throw Terry against the best player, then I'll put Bobby against the other. But that was the story, is Bobby was cooking, right? And so Bobby was playing really well. I couldn't believe how much better Chuck Liddell was.
Yeah,
I mean,
so much better.
He held Shamar to not be able to advance past the first round and let the ladies on the other end decide it. But Chuck kept Shamar in play. I thought that was really interesting. So, like, overall, there was a lot of fun with this group. And I made the comment earlier. It's like, yes, I know we invited some of the best players that are celebrities to this event, but also there were celebrities that were good, that, you know, the evolution of the game, even at the celebrity level, is better. Like, I remember we were just praying back in the day for someone to put it on the board and for someone to come anywhere close. I mean, look, for celebrities to go out there and a majority of this field to throw above a 4 PPR, that means every single round they're putting one in and one on. And I know we take that for granted as the cornhole community, but you can remember back in the day when you weren't throwing a 4, right? For you to put one in every 2 rounds, that felt like, you know, a really cool opportunity. So I just love to see that cornhole continues, you know, to grow across all the different facets.
How'd the coaching go?
Yeah, it's so funny. The coaching was fun. So instead of going with a crew cup style like we did last year, which was kind of chaotic, this year it was like, okay, we're just going to have 2 celebrities play, but then they're going to have an ACL pro coach. That was interesting because some, you know, depending on who the coach was, they were really, really into it, or they were probably completely useless. Like when Shamar, like, what is Cash Chamness going to be able to coach Shamar, right? Nothing. And even if he is, Shamar's not listening to Cash Chamness, right?
Steamroll.
But I thought there were some instances, like I saw Justin Rule really active. Tanner Halbert was really active, like people giving legitimate advice to the people. I thought that was a really cool element. And I think it's something that, you know, I still love when the pros play. I think that adds an element of a wow factor to showcase how good these people are. But at the same time, if you get to an event like this where the number of celebrities is so overwhelming, like, this was a good opportunity to kind of provide something different to still showcase them, and allow the celebrities to do the majority of the work.
Well, I liked Corey Gilbert in there. Always a big fan of him with his big personality. Thought that was a perfect coach. He may have been better for Shamar. Maybe he would have listened to him because he's just loud. I don't know, though. You never know.
Yeah, I liked Shamar giving, you know, he was giving other people advice and he was jumping in when other people, I mean, Shamar is he's a great dude and loves the game immensely. Had the big party at his house, and as a day before event, and so many people had fun, and he just really cares about the game and cares about the players and wants to see them succeed. I think it's really special to have, you know, a real big supporter like Shamar within the community. So, and that guy can't go anywhere without someone wanting to get a photo. So,
and he does it all.
He brought his Bronco too, showing off his Bronco. You would have liked that, Michelle. It was.
Oh, does he have a new one or an old one?
This was a newer one now that he had kind of sitting courtside, showing off to everybody.
Very nice. I like it. Shamar. You got good taste in vehicles. Okay, so we are going to switch gears a little bit. I mentioned earlier that Dave Sutton was on ACL Academy, and he actually came on before. Funny story. So it's supposed to be Dave Morse. Dave Morse had an emergency. So day of, he goes, "Don't worry, I got you someone else." And so Dave Sutton comes in and rescues us and teaches this, like, totally prepared, like, amazing, takes the same topic and everything. And so I had to invite him back because I so appreciated the effort he put into making sure our ACL Academy members got really good content. So In this video, he is talking about, he came on to teach how to play against the dirty style game, because he is not a roller. So he is the type of person that has to roll into these games and be like, I'm dealing with these players that can get over all these bags. So he spent a good hour talking about how he does that. And this little clip he's talking about, I think it was a back block. So I'll show it to you here, and then we can discuss. And if you are listening, probably going to want to tune into YouTube so you can see the video.
All right, another scenario would be like level 2 blocks when they're further away from the hole. You can't really go through it or around it, get in your way. Usually do here is kind of throw a counter block. So, he went here in our lane. If you can slide up and just kind of push off his bag and land right here, that way you are, you're blocking him. So then it's kind of a wash at that. Yes, if they can roll and you can't, then they have some roll shots above this. But what you could do is you can split these then at this point. So you're kind of throwing this out here. As you throw your next few bags, you might push your bag further out of the way, but then you can use that as a bumper. So it's kind of another sacrifice situation. So let's pretend like he rolls over, you slide through or try to split him. You kind of push this out of the way, but then you're kind of sitting in front here. He's not going to collect his because he's out in your lane. That's not a collectible bag. So he just rolls again, goes in the hole. You still have a somewhat of a lane here. You could push through and kind of wash it out. So these first bag blocks kind of are, washed out at that point. There's no problem with throwing a sacrifice bag if it's going to help you make the rest of yours in, essentially.
All right, so cool little
snippet. That was pretty good. Like, that's interesting. That? Yeah, no, I like that a lot, and it's a good mentality, because one thing I very rarely get to talk about is, or we really discuss, is like, how do you combat a block that, if you don't have a roll shot, right? There's that transition period where you always tell people, like, you want to be an elite level player, you got to have a cut or a roll. But let's say before you get there, you don't, right? And so I really like that mentality of like, okay, if you don't have this shot, how could you possibly attack it? And so that's probably as good as an opportunity as you can be. A lot of people want to try to push all the way through that. But you push all the way through that, the chances of you hitting it perfectly to be in good position is tough.
Yeah, we talked about a few scenarios where you are sacrificing bag in hand. And it's a bit of a mental block, because most of us cornhole players want to put every bag in the hole every time. And so it's a different way of thinking of, if I sacrifice this bag, it'll end in either a wash, maybe even getting me a point, or giving up the least amount of points. And I know I struggle sometimes to think that way. The only thing I tell myself is, at least if I get it on the board, I'm in the way, because I'm not typically throwing against, elite players. So for the average competitive intermediate player, putting a bunch of bags on the board is a problem. But I didn't think about it as detailed as he went into it. And that was just 2 minutes of the whole 60-minute training that he did. And there was a few other times where we talked about where to put a bag where you would be sacrificing it, but then you could even end up with points on the round. But at least if you take this opportunity to give yourself a wash, you buy yourself another round, or if you're playing doubles, you give the bags back.
Yeah, because pulling the trigger on an airmail too is, for a player that doesn't have a roll shot, probably also means that player probably also doesn't have a high percentage airmail, and so that's the case too. You're caught in between here, and that goes back to the old age thing when you're talking about strategy when it comes to cornhole, is that being in the center is never bad, right? And you're never going to be in a bad position if you're in the middle of the board. The only other counter argument I would make there is that, yes, you could go side by side. Another option is if you end up really short in their lane, then you've taken away their roll bag landing zone, right?
Yep.
So if you are playing a roll bag player, taking away their ability to do that forcing them to airmail, maybe you have the advantage, you think, on airmail shots versus their abilities. Because if they have the roll advantage, it probably means they don't like throwing airmails as much. So, that's another thing to take into consideration is where you can be defensive. Obviously, now you got my brain churning, Michelle, and now I just want to go into like different bag scenarios and what we do and how we attack it.
Well, what do you think about him creating a digital board? Because, we get both in ACL Academy, right? Like we get players that put up a tripod and actually have their board out, but I liked how Dave actually built a board to put bags on.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because in that scenario, you're at least able to move things much quicker. You can go through a lot of different scenarios very quickly, right? Whereas if you do it in person, it's tough and you're trying to attack it. To me, it's the difference between watching game film and going out there on the practice field and executing on it, right? Those are the two different things. And so I definitely think there's game film to be had to talk through people about all the different ways that you can attack a block scenario, because it's that's what cornhole is dealing with defense nowadays. And so
that's
being able to
cool horseshoe community, the horseshoe community that's coming after us.
I saw that. No, I mean, yeah, I think that's always separated cornhole versus darts or horseshoes or anything else, is that you can play defense. I think defense adds, because it just adds like a virality factor of like I can do something different. Yeah. Like, unfortunately, a sport like a dart or a horseshoe, you can only do the same thing that you've done. You're never going to get a highlight out of it, right?
What's the audience going to chant, Trey? They can't chant throw a block.
Right. It's like miss, right? Now, is it really impressive to throw, I don't know, 30 ringers in a row? Maybe that's an egregious number.
We can do that too.
But yeah, that's the thing that's I think is tough, is that you can bowl 30 strikes in a row. You can throw 30 ringers in a row. You can do all these different things. That is very impressive. But I think what it lacks is grabbing the attention span of the new age world of the internet, right?
Yeah.
Someone can appreciate seeing a bag that I knock somebody off the board on a bar of soap, push my bag in, all of it goes in and everybody goes crazy. They can visualize that. When you take a single bowl in or a single toss, it's just like, you don't get the same level of effect. So
true.
And defense wins championships. That's what people always say. So
that's what the sporting world says. Yes. So anyways, you can catch that full video at academyacl.com and sign up for a free trial there. Also, the ACL Academy Facebook group is now available to everyone, even non-paying members. So that is now, there's like a ACL Lite version. So you can head to academyacl.com or search it on Facebook, and you can join the group. That way you're part of the community. But if you do want access to our expert calls and be able to interact with our players and also our mindset experts, that would come at a price there. But also coming in 2026, Trey, is we're adding 2 tiers to ACL Academy with some group coaching, some private coaching, and exciting things like that. So lots of cool stuff for ACL Academy in the future. But for now, definitely jump in the group. Be part of the conversations. That's only for people that want to get better. No bag selling in there, no promotions in there. We're just talking about getting better at the game, both mental and mechanics. So love to see you guys in there. All right, I got some high or low for you, Trey. So these are the standings for these players this season. I'm asking you, do you think they're going to finish higher or lower next season? Starting off with Logan Chamberlain at number 7.
That one's tough. I was hoping it was going to be like 10, so I could easily say better. 7. I'm still going to go better. So higher. Okay. Is it higher or lower? What are we doing?
This gets us every time. So I would think lower in the rankings is like 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, lower in the rankings is better. So I'm going to say lower, because I think Logan Chamberlain, the way I saw at the World Championships, his newfound focus, even going back to Richmond, even including Spencer McKenzie's, was a top 5 player in the world. That good. Now he's got to keep that. And we have a long off season before, right? I mean, he could continue to be really good at the first couple opens when they're not counting for pro points. But when it comes signature time, he's got to be back and ready to go. So from my perspective, I'm going to say lower, better. but I'm worried about time just being able to throw him off a little bit here.
Yeah, we are doing as early a predictions as you possibly can do. We're like, a few weeks postseason, basically, but that's okay. We're going to keep it going. Justin Burton Jr. at number 10.
Yeah, I'm going to go higher here for a number of different reasons. I think having Logan Chamberlain on the other end provided some level of confidence for him that he could even take over into singles. Also got to factor in new dad, right? You're going to be a new dad here shortly, and so that's going to have some level of effect on a practice routine, on a mentality, on a travel perspective. And we don't know who his partner is yet. So for me, I think there are plenty of other people that are going to continue to get better. I'm not going to say Justin Burton Jr. is going to finish 40th, right? But to be a top 10 player to drop from 10 to 20, I don't think is unheard of. So from my perspective, I'm going to go slightly higher.
Matt Guy at 17.
So I got a little fun fact for you guys, for everybody here. Matt Guy came up to me here at Spencer McKenzie's, and he goes, "You'll never guess what I just did." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "I just switched to a butterfly grip."
What? He switched his grip?
He switched his grip to a butterfly grip because he wants to start rolling. And he has not perfected the roll yet. But he said, I just went out there outside with a butterfly grip. I threw 48 in a row. He said
he threw 48 bags in a row with a new grip.
Yep. And he
I
said,
want to see what that bag looks like. Do you think it's flatter?
Apparently, so I got testimony from someone else that said it is a flat bag. It is flatter. It is.
I am floored right now.
And so, what am I going to call? I said, what is your new nickname? Butterfly Guy? Like, is that what we're talking about here? And he's like, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. So apparently, we got butterfly grip Matt Guy coming for you guys, and I'll buy it. I'll say he's better than 17. I think between now and January, he learns how to throw some type of roll bag. He admittedly, talking to him, knows he's not going to be a block roll guy every time, but he just needs something to improve his very defensive game strategy a little bit. I think he is happy with the little bit of conservatism that he took this year, still being aggressive on the airmails, but not being the ultra aggressive airmail player that he's been for years and years. So dialing that back a little bit, adding, whether it's a skip shot, the Derek Holland, the Sarah Cassidy skip shot, instead of the traditional roll, if he can get that with a new grip, this guy's been around the game a very long time. Well, he is determined to be one of the best. So
do you know why that's so dangerous? Is because and here I am just making assumptions, but I'm assuming if you're an opponent coming up against Matt Guy, you're thinking the only way for me to beat this person is for me to just make him shoot so many airmails that he's bound to miss some. So if you take away that as the opponent, now what? Now you're like, well, he might airmail, but he might roll. And then now his chances of going off are so much less. And now how do you beat the guy who can put more bags in the hole than probably anybody?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's just something to look at. So I'll say he's better. Look, I'll buy into it. Look, this guy has adjusted throughout the years and always bounce back. And if this is the year that he's going to spend the offseason learning how to throw a roll bag because he thinks he make a difference, I got to have the faith in him that he's going to figure out how to do it.
I have faith as well. All right, what about faith in Riker Wells at number 27?
Riker's interesting just because he jumps up and down so much. I think he's one of these gamers that you get to a big stage and he cares more. But you go to an open and he doesn't play well. Now the pro tour next season will now not count opens. It'll only count the big events. I'm going to lean into Wells having a slightly better season when he knows he has to buckle down and take it a lot more seriously. I'm going to say lower. He gets better.
Okay. Ryan Trader at 39. Does he figure it out this season?
I'm going to give a hot take here in that I don't think 39 is that bad. Right? Everybody wants to look at 39 being, look, Ryan Trader, yes, was second in the world at some point. I get the drop off to 39. I think it's pretty close to where he can be. Getting taller, obviously, forced him to have a different, delivery. I'll say slightly better. I'll go lower, maybe 30, but I I don't think he's necessarily a top 10 player next season, a top 20 player, but he can hang around and still have a really, really good season.
No, in the scheme of things, 39 is very good. It's just a drastic drop from the previous season. And as someone watching him, like his mental fortitude, like you can just see the defeat constantly. That's why I wonder, does that defeat, is he able to use that and improve and become better than he's ever been? Or does it keep wearing on him, right? That's
I think certainly that's going to be the big question, is the mental side of the game. And we saw that he had some ups and downs mentally, and Mason I thought was better this year. But I think the one thing that's always going to be hard for kids, and I always tell them this, is that when you get taller, you're going to face adversity. And that's the first adversity that you're going to have to face. And if you can tackle it and know that you're going to take a dip in performance and you can bounce back up, hey, then that's when you know you can be a really resilient player.
Expectations. It's all about expectations. I talk about that a lot. All right, Justin Rule at number 50.
Man, Rule is an interesting character because I think he can be up and down and left and right. 50, I'll go slightly lower, slightly better. I think he's got a little bit of upside here, and I think he's determined to make it work. Sounds like there may or may not be a partner change coming. I'm not sure yet. I think there was part of at least some thoughts there. If it happens, maybe a fresh start gives him a little bit more of an edge to excel. I thought he was a really good captain or co-captain for the Colonels this year. I think that contributed certainly to some of it. But in the end, yeah, I think he's got some upside. Again, I don't think this is a top 20 player, but can he be slightly better than 50? Yeah, I think that's certainly on the table.
So you went lower on every single player except JBJ. That's the only one.
Yeah, I think I'm good with that though.
Okay. Interesting. All right, before we wrap up and get to hot takes, any doubles teams news that you got or anyone you're looking at?
I think this is the month where we're really going to find some things because, people are going to start switching over to, new bag sponsors. They're going to jump over and find different partners, right? For me, I want to see which of the big power teams that we saw, if they stay together, right? Are we going to – we know number one's going to stay together. They'd be foolish and dumb not to. But we already know number two, number three are splitting up. We look at, next down the list, we're looking at Jordan Power and Cheyenne Bubenheim. Are they going to stay together, right?
Yes, I think they will.
And so I think so as well. I think that's a good fit. But you start Jamie Graham and Jacob Trzynski. Do they stay together, right? I think that's a legit question. I think there's certainly an opportunity to stay together, but there's going to be some people. Who does Eric Davis find as a partner? I feel like Eric Davis is the Cheyenne of old. Just somebody find someone good for Eric Davis to play with, please. Just find
No, that was Devin. Devin Harbaugh had that problem too. He had kind of wishy-washy partners.
Yeah, Harbaugh and Ellis. I don't believe Ellis is coming back, right? So what does Devin Harbaugh do in that situation? So I think there's
Devin
a
Harbaugh,
lot of,
Eric Davis.
I don't like the compatibility there.
No.
Hey, look, if it happens, I'll watch. I'll tune in. I'll buy the pay-per-view, but I don't know. I've been wrong before. I thought Power and Bubenheim wouldn't be good, but they've been fantastic. So
yeah,
we'll see.
You got Ethan Walker too, but the thing is, Ethan Walker and Eric Davis are so similar. I don't know if that works.
That's going to be either or there.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. There's nobody there with any kind of a conservative style. It's just go for all the shots.
Crazy.
Oh man. All right. Hot takes. What direction are you going with your hot take?
Yeah, I'll keep leaning into the conversation I had. I was going to bring it up no matter what, but I'll go with Butterfly Guy. Butterfly Guy is going to be a top 5 player next season and have some really strong success with the new throwing style.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to go on the, surprise, surprise. But I actually haven't been talking about Eric Davis that much as of late. But I do think that the stuff with his partners and some stuff with bags was getting in the way. So I think next season he'll improve quite a bit. I'll put him in the top 10. Where did he even finish? I can't remember. Doesn't matter.
Top 10 would be good.
Top 10. I'm putting Eric Davis in the top 10 for next season. All right, guys, that's all we got time for. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.